Hello, everybody. This is Pastor Bridgman. First of all, and foremost, I want to say thank you for joining us tonight, and I want to say happy Sabbath to you. Today's teaching is the book of Daniel. We decided at the church family not just to talk about the bits and parts of the prophecy, but to show you where this story or how the world going to end, at least as far as Daniel and Revelation and how they correlate together. So what we decided to do is to go through the book of Daniel, and so you can see how the story unfolds, so you can have an understanding what we say about the beast, how the beast came about, how the word of God explained it, so that when you're reading Revelation, you don't get lost. So it's a true statement that I said that we are in the time of the sixth beast. The sixth beast had two horns like a lamb, and he spoke as a what? Dragon. So we in that time now. So if the Bible said that this beast have 7 heads and we on the 6th head, that means there's only one more head to show up before Jesus claimed to be back here. So Jesus said in the book of Daniel that when we get down to the time of the 10 kings, that's when Christ is going to hit the toes so that the statue can come crashing down. And what's so significant about it, the 10 toes represent the dividing of the kingdom upon the European nation, and what's the time that we live up here in. The Bible also said that God was going to build his kingdom in this time among these kings. The Bible also said that these kingdom was going to lose their what? Dominion. And so this is what we've been teaching to show you who the 10 kings is, how they got, to be the 10 kings, which was reduced down to 7. Then one came up and made it 8. And I know I said a lot to make you confused, but it's very simple by how it lay out. So let's take a look on how God laid this thing out tonight. And we're just going to be pretty much going through the book of Daniel as it is. So we're going to start in the book of Isaiah because you need to understand something about God. Isaiah 48:3. I have declared the former things from the beginning. Jesus said to you is that everything that you see in this world now, I have already told you it's going to come to pass. So that's the mark of God. He declared the former things from the what beginning. The things that you see now, he already know what's going to happen. And they went forth out of my mouth, and I show them. I did them suddenly, and they came to pass. And so God is saying that the things that he's telling you, it's going to come to pass. This is why this Bible is so significant, because this word have always, outside of telling you a few rules and things that you need, it also shows you what's going to happen, who's going to do it, and who's don't. That should be enough to make us want to read it. With no further ado, let's start in the book of Daniel, and you're going to see that God is going to share some information with the king of Babylon. Then he's going to share some information with Daniel. Then it's going to go through, and he's going to be showing us what's going to happen with this thing here. Okay. Now, some of these names in here, I'm not going to be able to pronounce it. So we're just going to have to do the best we can with it. And if you're better than me, then so be it. But you can see the words on the screen so you can follow along. So, in the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, the king of Judah, came Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, of Jerusalem, and besieged it. And the Lord gave Jehoiakim, the king of Judah, into his hand. Now, who gave who into his hand? Now, we understand that the king of Jehoiakim, the king of Judah, was a king appointed by God. It was God chosen people, or the Israelites, or the Jewish people, or the Jewish nation at this time. God promised them and told them because of their iniquity that God was going to scatter them among the heathen. Then he said that Jehoiakim was going to be taken into what? Babylon. And so now the time have come. So God spoke it, and now it's about to fulfill itself before this here thing here. This is what you're looking at. And the Lord gave Jehoiakim, the king of Judah, into his hand, with part of the vessels of the house of God, which was carried away in the land of Shinar, into the house of his gods. And he brought the vessels unto the treasure house of his gods. This is Nebuchadnezzar. And the king spake unto Aspen, or whoever, the master of his eunuchs. Now, what is a eunuch in the Bible? What did we define it to? What did they use to describe the eunuchs there? In the old days, there was a eunuch that was sitting there reading the Bible, and the Lord told the disciple to attach the apostle to attach himself to the eunuch to explain to what he's saying. The eunuch is described in the Bible as colored people or what black people. That's pretty much where the eunuchs come from. So here we are in the king, up under the ranks of Babylon. You see black people here. Most people don't realize that, but that's what in fact, it comes from the term from the Greek. That's what they use to describe black people. That he shall bring a certain of the children of Israel and of the king's seed unto and of the what princess. Now, God is setting up something here, and most people don't realize in the book of Daniel, God is going to set a prophet in the midst of Babylon. So, because God always going to have His word in there, and here's how He's going to establish it. Children whom of no blemish, which are well favored and skillful in wisdom, and cunning in knowledge, and understanding of sentences. So he needed somebody that was of great intelligence, and such have the ability in them to stand in the king's palace. So he didn't want any people, and these are some of the children of Israel he's getting ready to claim. And God told Jeroboam that his seed was going to be carried into the king's house. He told him that, just like that before it happened, and just like the Bible is saying now, what God spoke then is happening on a point here. To whom they might teach learning in the tongues of the Chaldeans. Now, the Chaldeans, who was another great king of the Chaldeans? I'm going to share this with you. One of the greatest king of the Chaldeans was one that started all this here. It was Nimrod. Nimrod was a Chaldean. So you're saying you need to understand that these are generational things come. Abraham come from the lands of the Chaldeans. Okay, all right. And the king pointed them a daily portion of the king's meat and of the wine which he drank. So nursed them for 3 years, and at the end thereof that they might stand before the what king. The king wanted them to look fit, fine, and all this other kind of stuff. So he gave them the best of what he had. And now among these were the children of Judah, Daniel. Oh my God, how you pronounce this here? Oh my God, I know it. Anyway, it's going to end up being Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego. Okay, so I'm not going to even try to push it tonight up on that. Unto whom the princes of the eunuchs gave names, and to Daniel the name was Belteshazzar, and to my man here it was Shadrach, and to Mishael it was Meshach, and to Azrael it was Abednego. But Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the portion of the king's meat, nor with the wine which he drank, before he requested of the prince of the eunuch that he might not defile himself. Now, what would make Daniel not want to take the meat? Well, as I told you before, that in the old days, when the kings who didn't believe in God, when they have feasts, they sacrificed their feast to gods that wasn't the God of Israel. And Daniel knew it. So Daniel didn't want to eat meat that was sacrificed to idol, because that was one of the requirement that God had for Israel. You just didn't do that. You know, you eat the meat that was offered to God, but you don't do it that was offered to idols. So Daniel knew that. So it didn't. Now God brought Daniel in favor and tender love with the prince of the eunuchs. And the prince of the eunuchs said unto Daniel, I fear my lord the king, who hath appointed your meat and your what drink. For why shall he see your face worse likening than the children's which are of your sort? Then shall ye make me endanger my head to the what king? And then Daniel said unto Mizael, if I'm saying it right, whom is the prince of the eunuchs had set over Daniel, that same Daniel, Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego. Prove thou servant, I beseech thee, 10 days. In other words, he said, give me 10 days, and let them give us pork to eat and water to drink. Now, these were just pretty much vegetables that they was eating. Then let our countenance be looked up on before thee, and the countenance of the children that eat the portion of the king's meat, and as thou seest, deal with thou servant. So he consented to them to this matter, and prove them 10 days. Now, listen at this. At the end of the 10 days, their countenance appeared fairer and fatter in the flesh than all the children that did eat the portion of the king's meat. This is a good quotation for those who went vegetarian and all this other kind of stuff. If you do it right, you can look just as good as people who eat meat. Because in these days, we put so much stock in protein, and we don't realize that protein is a part of our vegetable stock anyway. That's how the cows get it. They eat a lot of grass. Okay, let's be precise about it. All right, Daniel 1, we in the 16th. Then Mizal, if I'm saying this right, took away the portion of their meat and the wine that they shall drink, and gave them Pope. So he did what he said. As for the 4 children, God gave them knowledge and skill in all learning and wisdom. And Daniel was Daniel having the understanding in all visions and dreams. So it was Daniel's spiritual gift to deal with dreams. Now, wouldn't that make sense that God would give a king a dream if he wanted Daniel to be promoted to that kingdom? So let's see how this ends up. And now at the end of these days, the king said, he shall bring them in, and the prince of the eunuch brought them in unto Nebuchadnezzar, who was the king at this time. And the king commanded them, and among them all, who found none like what Daniel, who Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego. I'm just going to use the name that I know how to pronounce here, so we can stay on. It's the same thing. It's translated there. Therefore, behold, therefore stood they before the king in the years of King Cyrus. Now, who is King Cyrus? Okay, you're going to see that not only did Daniel serve Babylon, but he served Cyrus. Cyrus is another person that God called by name years before it happened, way in another prophecy. And we'll try to get into that a little later as we go to some of the other books of prophecy. But we're going to focus on Daniel now. Daniel 1:20 here reads like this in 21. And all the matters of wisdom and understanding that the king inquired of them, he found them 10 times better, and all the magicians, astrologies, and all astrologies that were in all his realm. So Daniel was smarter than all of them. Why? Because when you're dealing with the blessing of God, that favor stand on you. He didn't defile himself. He understood the law. Even in the mix of danger, he did not take the portion of the king meat because he knew better, and God gave him favor. And Daniel continued even until the first year of the king Cyrus. So we understand that Babylon must gonna fall because there's something. So all of a sudden that God got Daniel. In the first chapter of Daniel, God is setting up a promotion for Daniel because God is going to have some say so. Even though he have other kingdom other than Israel, he got somebody in there that's going to do his work. And that's Daniel, Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego. So let's see how this here works out now. Daniel 2, right down. We're going to go all the way down from the 1st to the 49. In the 2nd year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar dreams. Ain't that something that now God got somebody that had great understanding of dreams and vision. So all of a sudden God is going to show Nebuchadnezzar a dream. Wherewith his spirit was troubled and his sleep was broke from him. And then the kings commanded to all of the magicians, the astrologers, the sorcerers, the Chaldeans, to show the king his dream. So they came and stood before the king, and the king said unto them, I have dreamed a dream, and my spirit was troubled to know the dream. Now Nebuchadnezzar, this dream had to get Nebuchadnezzar rattled here. You know, we showed you what that dream was last week, so I encourage you to go back. I'm not going to put the pictures up here. We're just going to observe the reading of the Word of God for this one because we already showed you the picture last week as we were setting up some things. So, but he showed him the statue, okay? Then spoke the Chaldeans to the king, O king, live forever. Tell thy servant the dream, and we will show thee the interpretation. So now they wanted to be big in Nebuchadnezzar's eyes, and so they asked Nebuchadnezzar to show them the dream, and they're going to interpret it. They're going to do it. But Nebuchadnezzar was a little bit smarter than him. And the king answered and said to the Chaldeans, the things is gone away from me. He didn't tell him. And if ye will not make known me the dream and the interpretation thereof, ye shall be cut into pieces. and thy house shall be made a dunghill. He said he gonna kill all of them if they didn't tell him. Now he ain't gonna tell him what the dream was, nor the temptation. They're gonna have to know this here and prove themselves before the king. Okay? But if ye show me the dream and interpretation thereof, ye shall receive many gifts and awards and great honor. Therefore show me the dream and the interpretation thereof. And they answered, and they again said unto him, let the king tell the servant the dream, and we will show you the interpretation of it. And the king answered and said to him, I know certainly that ye will gain the time, because ye know, ye see the thing is going away from me. So he know that they was going to try to hook wing him. See? But Nebuchadnezzar, he wasn't a dumb king now. He was pretty smart. Okay? But if ye will not make known to me the dream, there is but one decree for you. Now he's about to make a decree. What is a decree? Is a law. For ye shall have prepared a line and corrupt words to speak before me, till the time is what changed here. Therefore, tell me the dream, and I shall know that ye can show me the interpretation thereof. And the Chaldean answered and said, there is no man on the earth that can show the king matter. Therefore, there is no king, lord, or ruler that shall ask thing of their musician. In other words, they said, you a fool for asking of this here. The musicians, the astrologers, the Chaldeans sat in the king's gate. And so now Nebuchadnezzar is going to get upset about this here. Why? Well, God knew they weren't going to be able to tell you the interpretation of them. It's God that knows the beginning of things, the end of things from the what beginning. So it's set up there. So in other words, God is going to use some people that he can speak to. This is why it's most important that we understand our relationship with the Holy Ghost, because I showed you time and time again, God speaks unto the Holy Ghost unto you about these things. And it is a rough thing that the kings require. They keep on talking to him. They kind of upset with him because they know they're about to lose their life. And there is none of that can show it before the king, except the what gods. And that God is capitalized, and they couldn't even do it. Who dwelling is not in what flesh. So they understood that this thing have to come from another realm, because they couldn't do what Nebuchadnezzar asked them. For this cause the king was angry and very furious, and commanded to destroy all the wise men in Babylon. That means he also was going to have to destroy Meshach, Shadrach, Abednego, and Daniel. And the decree went forth that all the wise men shall be what slain. And they brought Daniel and his fellows to be what slain. And Daniel asked with counsel and wisdom to the captain of the king's guard, which was gone forth to slay the wise men of Babylon. And he answered and said unto Azrael, the king captain, why is the decree is so haste from the king? And Azrael made it known unto Daniel. Then Daniel went and desired of the king that he would give him what time. Now what Daniel going to do now? Daniel is going to do what everybody, all our pastors in church need to do. We need to go and consult with God, and that he would show the king the interpretation. And Daniel went into the house and made the thing known unto Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, his companions. Okay, that they would desire a mercy of God in what heaven concerning the what secrets, because they understand who to get their secrets from, right? Because he knows the end from the beginning. See, I keep telling you, good pastors understand that they got a God that knows the end from the what beginning. You got to remember that Daniel and his fellows shall not perish with the rest of the wise men of Babylon. And then was the secret revealed unto Daniel in a what night vision. See, because Daniel had an understanding of what vision. God already know that Daniel was going to be there and Daniel was going to be his man. Then Daniel blessed the God of heaven. And Daniel answered and said, Blessed be the name of God forever and whatever, for wisdom and might are what heals. Again, wisdom and might are what God is heals. And he changes the times and the what season. And he what removes kings and set up what kingdom. Lord, Daniel talking now. And he give wisdom unto the wise and knowledge unto them that know understanding. And he revealed the deep and the secret things, and he knows what is in the what dark, and the light that dwell within. But Daniel sat in the okay, I must have put something in. Okay, so Daniel saying that he knows all these secrets, he knows all these what things. Okay, I thank thee and I praise thee, O God of my fathers, who have given me wisdom and what might, and have made known unto me now what we desire before thee. For these has now made known unto us this king's matter. Therefore Daniel went unto the captain that was over them, whom the king had ordained to destroy the wise men of Babylon. And he went and said thus unto him, Destroy not the wise men of Babylon. I got this here. Bring me before the king, and I will show the king the interpretation. Now, you see how God is working this here. Now, God is about to declare something to the king through Daniel. He showed him a dream, and now he understands that Daniel have to be true. So Nebuchadnezzar understood the significance of how important Daniel was. So Ashrag, who I guess whatever his name is, brought Daniel before the king with haste, and said unto him, I have found a man of the captains of what Judah, captivity of what Judah, that will make known unto the king the interpretation. And the king answered and said to Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar, Art thou able to make known unto me the dream which I have seen, and the interpretation thereof? And Daniel answered in the presence of the king and said, The secret which the king has demanded cannot the wise men, nor the astrologers, nor the magicians, nor the soothsayers show them to the what king. But there is a God. Listen what he's doing. Now, what Daniel going to do? He's going to bring God up on the scene. There is a God in heaven that reveals secrets. Why? Because that God in heaven know the end from the what beginning, and make known to the king Nebuchadnezzar what shall be in the latter days. Now, wait a minute. He's saying the latter days, meaning this is going to happen after what is going on now. So this vision is for the what latter days. So is a vision that's going to tell you what's going to happen before it would happen. Thou dream, and the vision upon thy head, thy head upon the bed was this. As for thee, O king, thou thoughts came unto the mind unto thy what bed. What shall come to pass hereafter? So God is about to tell him future things. This is what's going to happen. Because that's God's trademark. He's going to tell you from the beginning. He's going to tell you the end from the beginning what's going to happen. I'm going to keep repeating that till you get it. Okay? Because this is all the beast is. He's telling us what's going to happen. Okay? And he reveals secrets. Make it known to thee what shall come to what pass. So what God said, if I spoke it, it's going to come to pass. This is what the Bible is famous for. No other literary book that is written do it as good as the Bible, and as good as the book of Enoch. The book of Enoch tells you the same thing that Revelation is doing. It's just in a different way. Okay? The other prophet told you the same thing. You can put me in it in Isaiah, and I'll show you what he showed them, where he saw the world upon a great distress. Okay? All right. We're still in Daniel 2 here. We're working our way down to the 49 and 30 verse. It reads like this. But as for me, the secret is not revealed unto me for any wisdom that I have more than any living, but for thou sake, that shall make known the interpretation to the what king, and that thou might know the thoughts of thy heart. So God's about to let Nebuchadnezzar know who he was. None of his people could do it. Thou, O king, sawest, and behold, a great image, whose brightness was excellent, and stood before thee, and the form thereof was what? Trouble. Now, what was that image? What was that image you see? Now, listen, he's going to tell him exactly what he saw. This image head was of fine gold. The breast and the arm was of what? Silver. And the belly and the thighs was of what? Brass. And his legs, which is plural, so it means there was two of them, of iron. Okay, so the legs was pure iron. So there was two strong forces that was coming up out of that statue. And then he said his foot was not strong as the what? Two legs. His foot was part of iron and part of clay. Okay, and so now he's describing this monstrosity to him. This same thing, the statue you see, end up being the what? Beast. Okay, now he was sitting there watching this here, Nebuchadnezzar, and then you're gonna say, thou saw until a stone was cut out without hand, which smote the image in his what? Feet. So in other words, when we get down to the feet of this image, something is going to smack the feet. It is going to be a stone cut out without hand. I showed you last week that that stone cut out of her hand is Christ. So Christ said that he's going to deal with these 10 toes, or these 10 kings. He's going to hit them in the feet, or meaning in the toes. Okay, so he should he's cut out with the hand, which smite the image in the what? Feet, where the iron and the clay, and broke into what? Pieces. Now once he hit that iron, that meaning everything that happened, everything is going to be completed. The whole stature it's going to be totally ruined. Why is he going to hit the feet? Because the feet have to be fulfilled before the whole thing come falling down. Then was the iron, the clay, and the brass, the silver, and the what? Gold, broken into pieces together, and being like the chaff of the summer of threshing floor, and the wind carried them away, that no piece were found of them. And the stone which smited the what? Image became a great mountain, which filled the whole what? Earth. The Bible said there's no need for the light of the sun, for the Father and the Son is going to fill the whole what? Earth. You better hear what I'm saying to you. This is the dream. And I will tell thee the interpretation before the what? King. Now he told him what he dreamed, and now he's gonna tell him exactly what it means. Now listen what he said. Thou, O king, or kings of kings, meaning that from Babylon the kingdom got worse. You went from gold to silver to brass to iron. Okay, so it was going to be a downgrade from Babylon. Okay, so we understand Nebuchadnezzar was a king of Babylon. So, for God of heaven have given unto thee a what? Kingdom, power, strength, and glory. He let him know that God got you. God put you here. He got you here. See, he set up kings and take down kings, according to Daniel. And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field, the foes of the heavens, have he made of them in thy hand, and have made them ruler over all. Have made thee ruler over all them. Excuse me. That thou art this what? Head of gold. So we understand that Babylon was the gold. So we understand the first beast was Babylon. That's all that means. It was Babylon. So it's going to be 7 of them. Okay. But it's going to be only 4 major beasts come, and out of the 7, 2 of them or 3 of them is going to come out of what? Europe. See, it's going to come out of the nation. That's all God is saying. And after thee shall rise another kingdom inferior to ye. In other words, this kingdom is not going to be as good as glorious as Babylon. And another third kingdom of brass. It's not going to be as good as the one that come from there. See, and God is telling you from the beginning, these are the things that's going to happen. So let's see how it happened. He told Nebuchadnezzar before it happened, and then he's going to show you in Daniel as it happened. Which shall bear rule over all the what? Earth. Okay? And the 4th kingdom shall be strong as iron. Now, you had 3 kingdoms that's going to be coming out. Okay? Babylon, we know, is the head of gold. Okay? We're not going to identify all these here. We're just going to talk about them until God reveal them throughout the book of Daniel. You know, you heard me talk about it enough. You should know who the 4th kingdom in the word. But he was going to be strong as iron. I'm sorry. For as much as iron break into pieces and subdue all things, and as iron break breaketh all these, shall it break into pieces and what burst. So this iron is going to what burst. This kingdom, as strong as it is, it's going to dissolve. That's all he's saying. Now, this is what he said. And whereas thou seest the what feet and the what toes, part of what a part of clay and part of what iron. And this is what he said. The kingdom shall be divided. So in other words, when you get down to these toes, okay, he's saying that this kingdom is going to be divided. And so, in other words, there's going to be 4 major kingdoms. And when you get down to the toes, it's going to be a pre-sequel or sequel of the kingdom before it. It's just going to just divide itself right there. Okay? All the other major kingdoms divided themselves. The Purge, the Medes and the Purge divided. Okay? You had 2 different nations coming together. Okay? You had Grecia. Grecia was divided into what 4 parts. And then you have Rome. So Rome got divided after the 2 legs, and it got divided in the toes here. The toes is the same of the 10 what kings. It's the same thing. Okay. So the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly what broken. Now, what is he talking about? He's talking about the toes right now. They're going to be partly strong and partly what broken. Okay. All right. And whereas I saw the iron mixed with clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men. You know, I want to really do a case study on the seed of men, because it seems like the Bible is saying a little bit more than the explanation that I have heard pastors give, but I have not had the time to go into the seed of men, because God put that, because when you see that, you see in Genesis where they mix with the daughters of men. And I don't know if that have anything to do with it. That's me being speculated. But I want to research that out a little bit more and see what we can come out with. But not now. Let's get through Daniel. But they shall not cleave one to another. In other words, these 10 toes or 10 kingdom is not going to get along. Even if iron do not mix with clay, they're not going to mix well. Okay? We understand today, excuse me, in biblical teaching, I have already identified who these 10 kings are. And even to this day, they don't get along at all, you know. So, and in the days of these kings, so we understand that these 10 toes are what kings, shall God of heaven set up his what kingdom. So when we get down to the statue, which we are now, God is supposed to set up a what kingdom. Are you looking for the kingdom that God set up? According to the Bible, we right in that time zone, right? Because that 200 beasts come up out of the dividing of that kingdom, okay? Which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left unto other peoples, but it shall break into pieces and consume all the kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. So God is finna do something in this time. This is why I keep telling you, I gotta get ready. This is why I want that resource, and I know what God is doing. As for as much as thou saw the stone that was cut out of the mountain without hand. Now, who is that stone cut out with mountain without hand? Jesus. So I'm gonna read it like this here. For as much as thou seest that stone cut out of hand, which is Jesus, and it shall break into pieces the what iron. Now he's gonna what? It's gonna break the iron. It's gonna break the what brass, the clay, the silver, and the what gold. Okay. The great God has made known to the king what shall come to pass hereafter, meaning after you. This is what's going to happen. I'm telling you the end from the beginning. And the dream is certain, and the interpretation thereof is what? Sure. He's telling you this is absolutely going to happen. Okay? Then King Nebuchadnezzar fell down on his feet and worshiped Daniel, and commanded that they shall offer a oblation and sweet odors unto what him. And the king answered unto Daniel and said, Of a truth it is that your God is what? God of what gods, and the lords of what kings, and a revealer of what secret, sin that could reveal this what secret. He said the only way Daniel can do that he had to know God. That's what I'm telling you. What do God do? He declared the end from the beginning. So what is he doing with his statue? He's telling Nebuchadnezzar this is what getting ready to take place from here to I come. This is what's happening, right? He's projecting the end from the beginning throughout time. Okay, and we're finna watch how it start coming true right in the book of Daniel here. But we're gonna stop at 2 tonight because we got enough reading here. We can get into 3 and 4 the next service here. Then the king made Daniel a great man and gave him many gifts and made him the ruler over the whole province of Babylon. Daniel was the number 2 seat in that kingdom. Why? Because he's God's child now. And the chief of the governments over all the wise men of Babylon. And Daniel, then Daniel required of the king to set Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego over the affairs of the province of what Babylon. And Daniel sit in the house of the gate of the what king. And so that, my friend, is God setting up his own thing with Daniel. He's setting up a prophet here. God always, before he get there, he gonna send somebody to you that you don't expect to do it. He's going to be different. When Jesus came into this earth and he started teaching, he was different. He was different. He's not going to do things in the natural order of religion. He's going to step out and do it. This is why my commission is so different. And I tell people, God is not sending me here to do all this stuff, all this hooping and hollering that y'all doing. He's sending me here to set up some things now because God is going to build his kingdom right in the mix of these 10 kings who I say is we identify them, last week. You should go back and check that video. We showed the video of them. And this is what God is saying to you. It's 10 of them. 3 of them was wiped out. Then it's another little one that came up with made it 11. These are the peoples that we're dealing with now. We also showed you who they were back in the days when they became the 10 kings. And we also showed you the current names of them now, because the people who's in charge now is the descendants of the 10 kings back then. So all that was explained. So that's all that's going on with the book of Daniel right now. God is about to show Nebuchadnezzar. He's telling the world, okay, this is what's going to happen. You can trust it. I'm God. This is why God put prophecy in the Bible, so that you can know that it come true, that you can read this Bible and you really can believe in it. Most folk don't read it, so they don't know that it can be true. All right. So that's what we got tonight. We can get ready to go into live discussion here. And I can ask any question, but before we go, I'm asking you, if you found this to be helpful, you ought to go to LevanonChurchWaukegan.org, go to our live broadcast tab, Bible study of menu will appear. Please click on the Bible study, sign up to be a part of our church family, a church member, or our social presence on our website. And you will give access to all these great videos, and you also will get access to a live link that allow you to go live. May God bless each and every one of you tonight as we get ready to go live and answer some questions.